All right. Again, my name is Josh Whitlow. I'm with the Office of Finance and Operations. Hang on just a second. There we go. So today we're going to be talking about virtual and performance-based course setup. Just want to make sure that as you're starting school year, that all your courses are set up correctly. Let's get in. So just a few facts real fast. Infinite Campus should always reflect as closely as possible what the student is actually doing in the school. So if the student is taking, courses outside the day or taking extra courses, those courses should always be, KDE recommends that those go at the outside the school day in the virtual performance-based time slot there. And we'll get into that in just a second, show you what that means. If the students are in virtual performance-based courses, those students cannot be checked in or checked out. And also, seat time courses must contain 120 Carnegie units of time. All right. So just a couple of things that we're going to look at with virtual performance base, what courses and if students leave the building, what is considered virtual performance base on these. So the first one we're going to look at is Gatton Academy and Craft Academy. So yes, those courses must be set up as performance-based. We do have that guidance document out on the website under the data standards. So just Gatton and Craft Academy should always be set up performance-based. There is no attendance taken for these courses, and they will earn their attendance when they pass a course at the end of the school year. The next ones are dual credit courses, college courses, I should say. This is a district option. It depends on if your high school teacher or teacher in your district is certified to teach dual credit courses. Some districts want to take the seat time attendance, which is perfectly fine, and then some want to take the performance base. But again, that's all district decision on how you want to have that set up. So keep in mind, though, if it is seat time and you want that seat time, you will check in, check out. But again, if you talk to me, Jesse, or Rhonda, we will always tell you have to pick a lane. Either you're going to start virtual performance space and you have to go all the way through, or you're going to take virtual or seat time and you have to stay in that lane. You can't go back and forth. We actually do have reports that show that. We did have that happen this school year, and we did catch it. So just keep in mind, you have to pick what we call a lane and stay in that lane. Just a couple of pros and cons for virtual performance base. Your pros, if the student passes the course, you get 100% of that attendance. It does not require 120 hours of Carnegie unit. The student is working at its own pace. And this, again, allows the student to work at their own pace. The cons, there's no attendance funding. So if the student does fail that course, we will give you 0% attendance for that course, not the day, but just that course. So if the student is in 6 courses or more, usually that 6 courses usually fills that whole entire school day for that. So if they pass 3 out of 7 or 3 out of 6, we're going to fund you for 3 of those courses. Again, you cannot check in and check out with seat time, and then there is no growth on your virtual performance base during the growth factor. So we're going to go next couple slides as to how to set up your Infinite Campus to make sure you're getting the maximum funding and how to schedule your students. First, we're going to go through set up the courses. We're going to look at scheduling your students, and then we're going to look at the reporting piece of it. So always when you talk to me, the first thing that if you're having trouble with your virtual performance base, this is the first place that I always go to. And this is the periods tab under system admin calendar, and then the periods tab. So I always recommend, and KDE's recommendation, that you always have that virtual performance base time slot outside the school day. And so how you come up with that time is you take that standard day minutes and you're going to divide it by the standard day class periods. So here you see 415 is the standard day minutes there, and there are 6 courses. So you're going to take that 415 and divide it by 6, and that gives you around 69.1. So I'm going to tell you round that up to 70 minutes. Anytime it's at 0.1 or more, always round that up to that next minute. I'd rather give you more time than not enough time to cover you on that part of it. The next thing that we're going to look at is course setup. Keep in mind, if you are doing virtual performance-based courses, these courses have to be separate from your seat time. And the reason why is because of that attendance checkbox and that type. So we did run into that this year. We had some districts that were setting up the virtual performance-based, put another section in there under the seat time course. And so that was throwing their virtual performance-based numbers off there as well. So again, when you set up that course, always make sure that that type either says V or P. P performance, V for virtual, and that attendance checkbox is always unchecked. Never check the attendance checkbox for virtual performance-based. If you do check that, no matter what that type says, that attendance checkbox always overrides anything. So the attendance box, if you have it checked, we're going to look for attendance. And then when we come in to do an audit on you all, this is something that we do look at. So we will catch this, and we will make sure, for one, you are getting the maximum funding. All right. Again, the next part of this is making sure you have your grading task set up correctly. This is a very important step in setting up virtual performance-based courses. We did find some courses this year or districts that had the grade on the transcript and the SAR report. When you run that SAR report and send it to KDE and upload it, it does not look at the transcript. So it always looks at the grading task under final grade. So make sure that you always have the grading task as final grade, and how you have the group-wise set up. If you want to give them a P for passing, F for failing, that's fine. Or if you actually want to give them a grade, that's also fine. But that's up to you on the district how you want to set that up. But you have to have that final grade in there for the SAR to pick that up. So the next thing that we're going to look at is some of the reports that we have in Infinite Campus. This is literally one of my favorite reports that Infinite Campus and KDE work together on, is the funding gap audit report. When you call me and say, hey, we're having issues, I don't see this, I don't see that, this is the first report that I'm going to go to as well, and make sure that you are getting enough time for your virtual performance space and or seat time. You know, nowadays you have a lot of students are doing both. You have some seat time and some virtual performance space because of college courses. And so we want to make sure that you have enough time in that. So when you pull this report up, let me give you the path first under Kentucky State Reporting and then Funding Gap Audit Report. This report will pull any student that does not have at least 100% seat time or virtual performance space time. With that being said, our magic number for you to get the maximum funding for one day is 93% or above. Again, that number is 93% or above. If you add the seat time and virtual performance space time together and it says 93%, we're giving you 100% funding. And the reason why that's 93% is because it doesn't take lunchtime and if you have extra passing time. So that's the number that Infinite Campus has worked with us on, and that is 93% or above. Another thing that I do want to say, a lot of districts, I was the same way when I was in the district, I wanted all my reports clean. I don't want any student on any report that I pull if it's an error report. This report will always show students more than likely just because of that 93%. So if you hit that 93% or above, you are good to go. Some others that you need to look at, those extra columns on the side, the partial day, if the student has an active IEP, if the virtual performance space period length is not long enough, and if the student has the full funding checkbox. So again, keep in mind, if you have students that are partial day or partial week kids, they could pull on this report as well. But if they have active IEP and that full funding checkbox, more likely you're good to go. So at the beginning of the school year, when you're running this report at the beginning, you may want to jot down some names and keep that with you at all times when you're pulling this report, and you'll say, okay, Josh Whitlow, yes, he's partial day, he's good to go. So that's just to some tips that I always did when I was in the district on that. So let's look at the report a little deeper. You will see this is still the same report. I just kind of zoomed in a little more. On that first line, that blue line, you're going to see that it says 64% for virtual performance or for seat time, and you see that it's 13% on the virtual performance base. When I add those two together, those are 70. That gives me about 77%. So right then and there, I know that there is something wrong with that student's schedule. Either he doesn't have enough, that the period schedule is not set correctly, or I don't have one of the courses marked correctly as well. So let's go down to the red line that says 78% in seat time and 0% in the virtual performance-based time. Again, the first thing I'm going to do, if you call me and say, okay, what's going on, I'm going to pull up that student and go straight to his schedule, because more likely he has a schedule gap in there. So there's something missing, or it could be one of those courses that is not marked correctly as well. So let's just go right down to that next one. It says on that green line, it says 0% for seat time and 93% for virtual performance space. I see that. I'm good to go, because again, our magic number is 93% and above. And again, I want to stress to you, I have districts that call me all the time and saying, hey, I have 10 pages of errors on this funding gap audit report, which I will say, if you do have 10 pages, there is more likely something wrong. So that's something that we need to look at as well. But again, this report is not going to be cleared 90% of the time. All right. So I did want to put just a brief slide in here that talks about the guidance and setup for the A8 schools. Blended learning groups will be required. We want to stress that to you all. They are required if you're doing the guidance and setup for A8. Again, nothing has changed for the last couple of years. Grades 5, attendance must be taken a minimum of twice a day. That's AM and PM. We did run into where districts were taking attendance first period for an hour, and then right under that, they're doing it again. So it's something, because this is the whole day, half day. That's why we asked that we require here at KDE that you do the AM and PM. And again, grades 6 through 12, attendance must be taken each course period throughout the day. That law did not change even on this side of things, so it's still required every class period. We are working on some guidance. I know that Karen Davidson is going to be talking later today about some of this. So when you're doing, there's 4 steps that you have to do the blended learning groups, and for tracking the virtual attendance, which is the A8. You have to create a blended learning group, assign those blended learning groups to the calendars, and then you have to assign those kids that are doing those virtual courses with the A8. You have to assign those kids to those blended learning groups. And you have to give the teachers access to the virtual attendance. Remember, you have to go in there and enable the virtual attendance checkbox there at the bottom. And then you have to turn on the virtual attendance posting. So that writes back to the attendance table. And that's where it's going to come into us here at KDE when we do the growth factor and SAR. If you do have questions on this, we do ask that you reach out to Ben Maynard. He is the point of contact for the guidance and setup for A8 schools. So if you have any questions there, I can help just very little on it, but he is the main contact for the setting up and the guidance for A8s. There are some resources here. The link at the very bottom, the documentations, that is the virtual and performance-based training document. That is a PDF. Also, you will see if you go on Office of Finance and Operation or Division District Support, we do have another PowerPoint out there that goes step by step. And if you need that, I don't care if you email me, there's my contact information. I don't care to email you the PowerPoint as well, but that's out on our website as well. And I think that is, yes, that's all I have on the virtual performance space. Didi, do we have any questions?
We do. I think some of these you covered maybe after the question came in, but we'll go ahead and go through them. We have a student that started out as virtual passing, but returns to in-person attendance. On how do you get credit for those weeks? They did not earn a credit, but was passing.
So the only way that will work is if that student is passing at the end of the semester. So if the student starts out and the student is passing but wants to come back, again, we always state all of us at KDE will say that student has to stay virtual performance based until the end of the semester, because you cannot bring a student back from virtual performance base and put him in the seat time, because once you start that seat time, that virtual performance base, you get no credit for. We always try to tell districts, keep them on virtual performance base unless they are failing and they're not doing any work, and you say, okay, we'll start you on virtual performance base, come fall break, they're still not passing anything, and you want to bring them back into school for seat time. You will not get any funding, of course, from beginning of school till fall break, but when they come back off for fall break, you can start seat time. But again, you weren't going to get any funding at all for that student, more than likely.
So can progress grading tasks be set up for each term in addition to the final grade for parents to review student progress?
Again, that's a district decision on how you want to set that up. Some districts do that, and then some districts say, we only give the final grade, and then some districts are using the third platforms and they can print that off for parents. But as far as if you want that in there, that's a district decision.
I have one school that only enters term grades and the other enters a final grade. I want to be sure both schools are getting full funding. Does it matter if it's term grade or final grade?
No, they're both the same. So if it's a term grade that's in at the end of the term, it's still counted as the final grade. It all depends on how it's listed in your database, because again, no database is set up the same in the state of Kentucky. I found that out very fast when I came to the Department of Education. But term grade and final grade, as long as it's marked as at the bottom, that's the final grade, you'll get funding on that.
Does it have to be called final grade? We post ours in the task that we call semester.
No, you're still good on that as well.
Make sure there's not been
I will say we use the term final grade here because I will say a lot of districts in the state of Kentucky have their final grade as marked as final grade, and that's what the naming of it is.
Okay. That is all of our questions. Oh, we got another one. What if we have a performance-based student that leaves the district and rolls into another county? Is there a way to get funding for this?
No. If the student leaves you in the middle of the semester, you get zero funding. That is one of the cons of having virtual performance based. You have to finish a semester no matter what.
All right, we just got a couple minutes so we can kind of watch to see if any additional questions come up. But right now we do not have any. Okay, if you have any questions, this is the time to, this is the last session of Josh and Teams. So if there are any questions from earlier this morning, go ahead and submit those real quickly and we can get those answered too. What if they finish a quarter?
No, it has to be a semester. And the reason why we're saying that is laid out in the KAR. We can send, it's in the guidance document on that. If you click on the data standard, it has all that information there. But the law states it has to be a semester.
Okay. So can you explain the difference between virtual versus performance-based for dual credit classes?
It's really on how you want to, more than 90, I will say 99.9% of the time, they're always going to be performance-based and not virtual. The virtual is very loose now that we have the A8 as well. But if it's a virtual is 100% online with a 100% online teacher. But if it's a college course that they're taking, more likely they have a teacher that's from the college doing that, or you have someone that's in your school district that is able to teach that, and that is just performance based. But the virtual, if you look at the term virtual in the guidance documents and stuff like that. It says it's 100% virtual with a 100% virtual teacher.
So similar to the quarter question, we have a question: the virtual-based students have to finish the semester, or does this trimester work too?
Trimesters work as well.